there's a lot of new challenges, a lot of new events that I haven't tried, a lot of new distances. So for me, like growing up, I was pretty singular minded, and like the only value I would get from athletics is defining myself as an Olympian. And honestly, that could be unfulfilling. So 2016, I was 1.6 seconds away from the Olympics in the 800, was fourth place at trials. It was the only thing that mattered. And I think that can take the fun out of athletics, out of exercise, out of pursuing something like bigger than just competing. So honestly, right now, it's just, I love training. I love the process of training. I love trying new things. And that's sort of why this year it was like, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. I'm going to do that. I'm going to sign up for a half Ironman. I'm going to do that. And yeah, priorities definitely change, but I think I've learned to have a healthy balance while still also being competitive and like being able to be still an elite athlete. My name is Corey Bellemore, and I am a renegade.
I got so many questions. I don't even know where to start. I want to start asking right now. And Corey's not on yet.
And Todd, whether you're sipping at the beer mile or with your crew, there is an athletic brew for you.
That's right.
Athletic Light. I think we've mentioned this before, but 44% less calories than the Upside Down. I don't know if I taste the difference because it's just, they're both equally as wonderful. But cheers. Slam it.
Cheers.
Let's see how quickly you can drink one. Because we know that Corey has the capability of, slamming one of these in the matter of seconds in order to have such a wonderful time. What is his time again for the beer mile? I know we'll get into it, but
I think I read 4:27.
I have here 4:28.1 set in 2021. Is that still the standing?
It might be. We'll have to dive into it.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him.
And that's for a mile. He's a fast guy. And even his normal professional running PBs, he's run a 1,500 meter in 3:39. He runs a mile in 3:57. This dude's super fast.
Those numbers just don't even make sense to me because I usually just struggle to get through my 5K. So imagine running that fast with all that beer sloshing around in your belly. So what are some of the key things that you do want to find out from Corey? Do you think he'll reveal his strategies, his secrets?
He better not. We want Corey to set the world record. So hopefully he doesn't give up his super secrets. But, we're two middle-aged guys. First question I got for him is, what can we do to get into this elite category? I know I could drink the beer fast.
Might not be in the elite category, but I might be in a light beer category.
A light category? Whether you're in the elite category or a light category, there's a beer mile for you.
That's right. Carbonation and running is just, they weren't meant to go together. And I think that's what makes this race very, very interesting.
August 17th, 2024, Windsor, Ontario, the Beer Mile World Championship.
Be there.
Mark, this is right in your alley. This, some other episodes as a new runner that you're probably punching above your weight class, because I'm punching above my weight class and I've been running for a little bit of time, so I could just empathize where you might be thinking about all these terminologies, PBs, PRs, Boston
peanut butter
qualifiers,
PBJ.
But the beer mile world record holder, Corey Bellemore, this is right up our alley.
I know. I want to get a PB with a PBR. The beer mile.
Or an AL for Athletic Light.
That is true. Oh, what is this?
What?
Athletic Light.
The Athletic Light goodness.
It's tasty. It's crisp.
Hey boys, how's it going?
Corey,
Hey, Corey.
what's happening?
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No problem.
Awesome.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you guys good.
Awesome.
That's good. That's good. We're excited, man. We're stoked to be talking to you. And it's we're gonna have a good interview. We're just recording right now. We usually just run the recorder because we say some funny stuff when we're not like worried about the camera being run.
We think it's funny for ourselves, but we don't know if other people do. But cheers there, Corey.
Cheers.
Hey, Athletic Brews.
Yeah, that's the Rattler, right? Pursuit.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I don't think I've. Hold on. I don't think I have that one yet.
It's tasty, man. It's refreshing. Good summer little shandy.
Corey, what I love about Corey, you see him in the community, and you know what? We root for you, Corey. When we see you line up to race and you're running with us. Like, we're proud of you. And this guy is super fast. I run the spring thaw, and you see him in Riverside. He's at the starting line. He's a big guy and like athletic, big smile on his face. The gun goes off, and you can run with him for one step, and then he's gone, and then he comes back, and it's just fantastic. So it's fun to to see you in the community and being involved, and you see at the running factory, you always got a smile on your face helping out, and it's awesome. So we're really excited to be talking to you today, Corey.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. And honestly, I love this community. I think I try to make that as known as possible, whether overseas racing, anywhere I go, I always make sure people know where I'm from. And I love the events that we put on in the community too. Like I probably wouldn't be running if it weren't for the Running Factory Aces and the series they had back in, how old was I? I was 12 years old at the time. I think that was my first 5K. So now to see like...
Okay, that was your first 5K at 12. Okay.
Yeah. So now to see kids doing it now, I just always think back to my experience. And I mean, I remember watching the fast runners at that time, and I just hope maybe, I don't know, maybe I can spark one of them to be interested in the sport and continue to pursue it at a high level and ultimately just have fun and enjoy it.
Well, it's actually going to be part of my one of my first questions to you is, be honest, what came first, beer or running? But it sounds like at 12, unless you were stealing, your parents' beers.
Oh man, I stayed clear. If my dad said have a sip of my beer, I had a sip, and I was like, I do not understand how anyone could ever drink this damn thing.
Oh, I remember those days too. Even sniffing the cap, it was like, this is disgusting. But then somehow, high school changed for some reason.
Yeah, I think your taste buds changed a bit. But yeah, certainly running definitely came first. It was just, I wanted to try and move my body as fast as I could, and I had a great pair of knees growing up, so 120-pound dog, and I ripped as quick as I could in the backyard next to my dog and tried to race it and never beat it, but always went back the next day and kept trying throughout the summer. So I think that's where I sparked interest, and then had a twin brother growing up, so you can imagine how everything's in competition with one another. You're born within 12 minutes of each other. Everything we do it was trying to compete and do something faster than the other one. So I think that's where the love of competition and also friendliness of competition also came from.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where I went wrong there, Todd, is that I have a lazy lab right now. She's about 85 pounds. She has little short, stumpy legs. And when I walk her, she trails behind me. So when she was younger, I used to bring her running. And even back then, she slowed me down. So if I had maybe more of a running dog, perhaps I could have improved my my speed over time. But that's my excuse anyway.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
I grew up next to, you probably know my cousin Mark Marentette. So I grew up next door to him. I saw him running all the time and living on the farm and trying to like outrun our dogs and whatnot. The running bug never caught me till later in life because I was shorter, had a little bit of pudginess to me. So I never really deemed myself too much of a runner. But do you remember, like, looking back to that, you said the first 5K and admiring, like looking up to the fast racers of that time. Do you remember who those fast racers were in the Windsor area that you were looking up to?
Yeah, I remember a few names that stood out. Like Ryan McKenzie was probably one of the best University of Windsor runners to come out of the school, and he was pursuing shortly after that the Olympics in the 5K. He was 13:30 in the 5K or so, and he was a sub 4 miler, so incredible runner. And then there was guys like Matt Loisel, who also went to my alma mater of Riverside. Brandon Young was a really good runner. There was Dang Mariel. So there's a handful of guys. We've always had a pretty strong running community here, and the depth at the front of those races was always, you could have guys running 14 minutes or sub 14 minutes all the way back to people finishing their first 5K walk in an hour plus. So it's just, that's where the community like supports everyone. There's a place for everyone, whether you're walking, whether you're running the whole thing, whether you're trying to sprint the whole thing, or just simply get out and do it. There's a place for everyone.
And Mark, when you come to the local runs in the area, when you see the Lancer track team show up in their track uniforms, you know there's going to be a showdown. They're great runners, and they're always out blazing the trail and setting the pace. And so that's where you went to university, right, Corey? You went to the University of Windsor. What was your attraction to the University of Windsor?
Hometown boy. I did pursue. So my coach in high school, I went to Riverside High School, and he got me to sign up. So I did the recruiting questionnaire for every single D1 school in the U.S. So I was in contact with many D1 schools, many of interest, and ultimately landed at the University of Windsor because we had one of the best coaches in Canada at the time, let alone like North America. Dennis Farrell, super decorated coach, and coached quite a few Olympians as well. It was close to home, which made the transition a lot easier as a 17-year-old. And honestly, I trained with them in grade 11 and grade 12. So I was familiar with the team and really liked that family atmosphere, that it was a very easy decision to stay at home. And if I ever wanted to leave per se, maybe didn't have a good experience, it was also easy to find a place to transfer. But obviously that wasn't the case. I had a great time there, and spent 5 years of eligibility at the school, and got a ton of personal best, and qualified for a few Canadian teams too.
Wow, and from what I understand, you didn't just stop at the end of school. You continued running. Well, obviously you are being a world record holder right now, but usually people stop and go into, working full time and not able to, dedicate as much, time and effort into, the athletic side of things. Like, how did you keep that front and center?
I just felt like I wasn't finished yet. Like I felt like I had gotten to a certain point, but I learned so much over the years, from injury through adversity, through racing, obviously, and traveling to different meets. So I just felt like I wasn't done. I just wanted to give more. And thankfully at the time I was working part-time at Running Factory, a local run store in the community. And they were very flexible with me wanting to leave, wanting to go to meets, but still having a place to come home and work. So that was sort of my mix. I trained very hard, worked quite a bit as well, but found time for everything, and was able to pursue meets in Ireland, Belgium, went to all parts of Europe, to be honest. So that was sort of where it stemmed from. And then I just had a coach that believed in me and also wanted to see me do more than I was already doing. So you got to find people that are supportive and see the same vision you see.
Absolutely. Myself and Mark, we're not experienced with track events and track running. Mark's getting into road running the last little bit. I'm a little bit of road running and trail running. So could you help us understand like the evolution? So you said, you're 12 years old, you started running 5Ks. When you start running track, how does it go? Like, what event do you actually pick? And then how do you progress through a track? Does somebody see something in you, or you see something in yourself? How does that work?
I think it's a bit of both. For myself, like, I was pretty small, to be honest. I played basketball growing up, and didn't pursue that long enough. It was my first sport that I loved. But I was just a short, small, skinny, slender guy. And grade 9, I pursued on the track the 3,000 meters. So that was like the longest distance event you could do in high school on the track. And I picked that one because, actually, I didn't pick it. It picked me because I wasn't a speed guy, to be honest. I didn't have the legs, didn't have the turnover. I wanted to be a sprinter and be faster, but long distance was where I was best suited. So I did the 3,000 meters, grade 9, and then that summer I hit a big growth spurt. So for some reason, shot up in height, got a little bit more muscular just naturally and doing a little bit of weights. And that's where my speed actually truly came through. So I was like, all of a sudden I was a 3,000 guy, grade 9. The next year I hit the track, and all of a sudden I have this, I PB by 10 seconds in the 800, which is, wow. 800 is not a short event. So PBing by 10 seconds is a huge, huge margin. And I pursued the 800 for quite a long time before, after that, until basically towards the end of university. But I always had, like, I knew I had that strength to rely on, but then also just from, I guess the growth spurt, I had gotten all this new speed, or at least found out that I had that speed from it.
And just for our listeners, you are 6'4", is it?
Just under. I'm 6'3". Yeah.
I tell people I'm 5'11" and a half as well, so it's hard to hard to lie. But I get that. So you had this growth spurt. You are able to improve your personal best in the 800, and then, fast forward multiple years. Like, when did that concept of even the beer mile come about for you? Was that something that you just stumbled upon, or is it something that did it also choose you? Sounds like it did.
Yeah, I would say it also chose me, to be honest. It's a weird one. So I always knew, like, say at the end of practice, grade 7, super thirsty, needed some water, hydration in me. I could get the liquid, get the Gatorade, whatever it was, as quick as it could come into the bottle. I knew if I needed hydration, I could get it down quick. Obviously, that never resonated with me. It never made any sense to do anything else. It's just like, okay, if I'm thirsty, I'm just going to chug whatever I need.
Yeah.
And then obviously through progressing through running, found out I was getting better and better as a runner. And then second year university that summer, team did a beer mile. So that was where you put two things I didn't know I was inherently good at together. And everyone said, like, you're going to want to be careful. You're going to want to take your time. It's going to catch up to you. It's going to hurt a lot. So the first one, I took my time the first 2 laps, and I was like, this isn't comfortable, but it's not that as hard as everyone said. So I did that first one. I think I was 5:30, 5:31, 5:32 in my first one ever. Never revisited it for 2 years, but over that 2-year period, they started having these world championship competitions. They started having, like, events worldwide. So I was like, this underground thing that was just more or less a tradition for university athletes to do, then started becoming an actual competition that you could travel to and get your travel paid for. And also there was some prize money at them. So 2 years later, I stewed on the idea of, like, trying another one just to see how it would go, and not necessarily getting anything out of it, but just, I don't know, seeing if I could get a world record per se. And one of my best friends came over one day, and him and my twin brother convinced me to do a beer mile. They were starting to get dark out in the summer, and we went to the track at St. Joe's, tried a beer mile, and set the world record there. And then that honestly changed everything, because I was working at kids track camp, did it on a Thursday night. Next morning I wake up to a bunch of messages because we had posted the video online. It was on YouTube. Canadian Running put an article out, and then this event in England at the time wanted to fly me out to their competition that was on the Sunday. So on Friday, they're emailing me back and forth. They're like, we want to fly you out. We want to fly you out tonight. So I was like, all right, let me figure out work and everything. I still have things to attend to. So I got work booked off, flew out of Toronto, got a ride to Toronto that night, flew out of Toronto, and I was in England for 50 hours and broke the world record again. And that's where this whole thing sort of blew up and stemmed from.
So I didn't realize that. So it's because you posted a YouTube of you running the beer mile that you became world famous. So you have the same kind of trajectory as Justin Bieber, like, right? You started getting famous from just, putting some videos out there. And I mean, don't look at him now.
If the Biebs got the finishing kicks like that Corey has.
No, but that's phenomenal. That then you started getting all this attention flowing out. Wow, remarkable. That's great.
Yeah, just completely crazy. And when I was working the kids track and field camp, I was a counselor, and I think it was Windsor Star CTV was at the track, and the kids had heard remnants of a world record, and they're all asking me, grilling me, and
what's beer?
What it's about. And I was trying to keep beer out of it. So I said, I I got a world record in the chocolate milk mile. And they're like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever.
Hey.
They all went home that night, though. They didn't know my last name, but they Googled Corey world record, and there was already articles that were out, and they knew it was the beer mile, so they came the next week, and they said, like, you lied to us. That was actually for the beer mile. So anyways, I won't lie about it again, but it was funny how it turned around.
Has any of the newspapers ever written Corey Beermore instead of Bellemore? Just, dubbed that name and, crowning you the champion? No? Okay.
I've had friends that have joked about a brewery taking that on to make a beer over, but no one's never coined it yet.
Okay, good.
Well, Runkle, we might just coin it right there. We got Corey Beermore, Bellemore. There's so many questions, Corey. So when you think about this, so it's a Thursday night. Friday, they're texting you to get to England. You fly out to England. Did you have it? Like, did you Google ahead of time, like look at your competition? Because my first thing that comes to my brain is that these pros who probably trained for this mile, they're there. They see this Canadian coming in, and like, this guy just from yesterday. There's no way this guy's going to do good. Not only did you do good, you set the real world record, the official world record at the event, correct? So what did that feel like?
It was a whirlwind, to be honest. Like, I think a lot of people thought, like, because I'd only posted a video, so it's like, obviously we're trying to provide some legitimacy to it and stuff like that, and tape it like in full sequences, not any cuts or anything like that. But I still think people like were skeptical, like, oh, it could have been water in his bottles or anything like that. So at least going to England, I knew 2 people that were there at the time, 2 other Canadians. And that was it. I didn't know anyone else, didn't know competition. Just literally went there to gun it, like to go for it and see what happened. And I was not running off much sleep. I didn't get any sleep on the flight over. I got a little bit the night before, but it was an in and out trip. So I sort of put it in my head that this is a business trip. You're going to compete, and if you're going to take this opportunity, you might as well make the most of it. So it's funny. It's the beer mile. It's a fun, stupid, whatever event, whatever you want to call it. But as soon as the gun goes and I was there, I was like, all right, we're not friends. No one's friends at this point. Let's just gun for a fast time and see what happens.
So jet lagged, and yet you still get a world record. I mean, that's just.
I think my body was just in survival mode. It was like, let's get this done as quick as we can, and whatever energy you have, we're going to use it.
So what were the logistics? What beer did you pick for the England beer mile? Like, what brand was it? Do you remember?
Was it local?
I do. No. So actually, the friend that brought the 6-pack over, right before he came over to my house, he went to LCBO, and he asked the lady working, he said, I need a beer that's low carbonation, is 5%, and is 355 milliliters, and easy to chug. And she's like, easy to chug? Like, I need an easy to chug beer. And he's like, I'm bringing this to my friend because he's trying a beer mile. And obviously she didn't know what the beer mile was. But anyway, simply put, he's just like, I need an easy chugging beer. So we used a beer called Kingfisher, which it's an Indian beer. You've probably never heard of it. It was actually super smooth to get down. So that's what I used for the one at St. Joe's, and then the one in England. I brought those beers over in a check bag. Thankfully, they didn't blow up or break, but
no kidding.
That's the beer I used.
That actually was going to be one of my questions as well, because I was thinking, I mean, not everyone loves stouts, but even something like a Guinness or a Kilkenny, it uses nitrogen instead of the full carbonation, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe that would be something that would be easier to chug down. Have you tried those?
Never tried them.
No.
I always say those beers are more like a meal than anything. So I don't know.
It's like soup. Yeah, you can use a spoon.
And I like sitting down and like having one of those beers. So it's like I don't want to ruin those good beers I really know well.
No, I think that's very respectful.
Corey, you described it as you showed up and you just wanted to gun it. So is that the strategy that you employ? Is you just gun it at these races, or is there a strategy?
The beer mile is one of those things you once it starts, you want to get it done. You're locked in, and it's I always say it's a bit of a suffer fest. Like, it's uncomfortable. There's so much different stimuli. obviously you're still dealing with the same stimuli from a regular race, out of breath, muscles tired, screaming in your face, all that. But then you have to stop, and the last thing you want to do when you're out of breath is consume any kind of liquid. You essentially have to hold your breath, get the liquid down in one go, and continue to do that 4 more times with carbonation added to it. So you're running with 3 pounds of beer at the end of the day, a ton of carbonation in your chest and stomach, and like
3 pounds
you're
of
just
beer.
you're locked in for those 4.5 minutes to endure a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, to be honest. So yeah, you just want to start it, you want to gun it, you want to finish it, and you want it to go smooth and not puke.
I love it. I love it. Now, I heard this too. If you do puke, you got to do a penalty lap. Is that true?
Yeah, so you have to do a penalty lap, so you're basically out of the race at that point. And thankfully, I've never had that happen, but I've seen it happen quite a few times.
Oh, I don't think I read that rule. Oh shoot! So you'll see me
So
running
we signed
for a
up,
while.
of course. we signed up. We signed up August 17th, the Beer Mile World Classic in Windsor, Ontario, and we've been training. So we've had a couple episodes. We had Jason Fitzgerald on. He was giving us some advice on how to train for the Beer Mile, and you know what, we're going to pick your brain too. Maybe you can give us some of the training advice. What Jay said, think of it as 400.
Yes.
But we're not track guys, so we don't really know what that means. But we're gonna give it a shot. You never know.
Yeah, it's essentially like 4 times a lap of the track with, I don't know, however fast you can chug a beer. So say for me it'd be like, by the time I get in the chug zone, chug 8 to 10 seconds in the chug zone, so that 9-meter zone that you can't leave until you finish those beers. So you're pretty much just like walking through it.
Just walking through it. And do you think like the pound of beer in 8 to 10 seconds, out of breath, chest pumping, can someone pound it any faster than 8 to 10 seconds, or is that about it?
It's minuscule amounts at that point. I think most of the elite beer milers can get it down as quick as it comes out. But there's always, like, when I first started doing it, I would tilt it back as quick as I can, and that's not the quickest way for the liquid to come out. You have to like tip it up, and as it's coming out, start tilting it, because that's how it allows it to have a constant flow instead of it sort of gurgling around.
And that's in a bottle for that one? Okay. And then for the what's the other class that I'd be running in? The non-elite, the slowest. Is that also bottles then too for everybody?
So they'll do cans, and I've run cans a few times. The biggest thing is making sure this dang tab is opened as much as it can be.
Okay.
To allow a bigger mouth for it to come out of. But
what about a squeezing motion?
The can? Can we bite the can and pound it? Like,
you're not allowed to tamper with the can whatsoever. Okay. So you can't squeeze it. You can't tamper with it. You can't open it before.
Okay. That's good to know.
Pull the tab and hope for the best.
We don't want to get DQ'd. We want to be legit here. We want to be the fastest non-elites out there, or at least the least pukey non-elites out there.
Now, do you ever see like the can just exploding, like just suds going everywhere, and someone's just like, "Well, how am I supposed to get this all down?" Yeah. Like that's just an unfortunate series of events, I guess, that happens for that person. And
yeah, I mean, some people have like shown up to the race and their bag unfortunately got tossed around a little bit before, whether they ran to the track or just got fumbled around in transit. But I've seen beers pretty much explode in people's faces as they open them.
Gotcha. So, is it true that it's Flying Monkey that you consume now, or is that your go-to?
Yeah, that's my go-to. So they actually make a lager for me for the beer mile. So they used to sell it. They no longer sell it, but I think they have it still in their tap room. And then they actually don't do bottles at all anymore, but they bottle one for the beer mile because it's faster. So they do everything by hand for that. And definitely thankful to have them as a sponsor.
The Runegade Podcast wouldn't be possible without great friends of the podcast. And we have a great friend, Path Projects. You know, if you've been listening to the Runegade Podcast, you know that we love our Path Projects tees and performance running apparel. They make the best running gear for all your runs. And brand new, they just dropped the Wadi Collection. Ultralight performance, UPF protection. The Wadi Collection is your summer sweat partner. This collection includes 3 silhouettes, a tank, a tee, and a hoodie. For the fabric, they utilize field sensor from Toray, Japan, where the technology is built directly into the knit structure, not applied via a topical finish. This stuff blew away their field testers, and they can't wait for you to give it a go. So check out the Wadi Collection at pathprojects.com and use the code Runegade10 for 10% off your order.
And is it true?
Excellent.
Did you just turn 30 or are you 30 now?
No, I'm still 29.
Still 29.
Still
Okay.
29.
So when you do turn 30 though, do you see yourself moving more towards like the OV or the 50? More the, the dad beers, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
I love the craft beers, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna sit down and have a beer, I'm gonna have a good, tasty, flavorful beer. That's the guilty pleasure. So I'll stick to those ones that are unique and ones that are new and I don't know about.
Yeah, maybe this is something that we could all comment on here. Okay, so what would be the biggest flex? Like the I don't know, the best beer to show everyone else around you that you're big time. You mentioned OV. Like, I'm just trying to think. Labatt 50. If you cracked one of those and pounded 4 of those used to bite you in the back of the throat.
So
like, what would be the biggest flex? What beer would you recommend to scare everybody? Like, holy shit, this guy is pounding this beer.
Flying Monkeys actually has a beer called Sparkle Puff. It's a triple IPA. It's 10.2%. If anyone had those in a beer mile, I would be like, wow, you are an absolute animal. That is insane, and good luck walking after.
Sparkle Puff? It sounds like a Pokemon or something.
It has
Mr. Sparkle.
A cat with laser beams on the can. It has a very
I did see that. I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Runkel, what beer would you flex on?
You know what? I'd say back prior to being of legal age, all we could really get our hands on were like Maximum Ice or Schlitz or like those little mini cans or kegs of Grolsch. So I would say like the Maximum Ice was 8%. So you said 10? 10.2. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've had a beer that high. So yeah, I think what I thought was going to be the ultimate beer has just been topped. So Sparkle Puff.
Sparkle Puff. I would think I'd show up with, if I remember when Labatt and Molson came up with the tall bottles. They weren't 355, they were like taller boys. Just show up with some Molson Canadian in those, and like you're drinking like 750, and everyone's like, oh my god. And then you still break run 430 and you pound like 6 pounds of beer. That'd be flex. I don't know. Maybe we'll try that one day.
And let's add to that flex. Have you seen the YouTubes or the videos of the guy that does the tornado with the beer? And he just goes right down. So I think you have to master that technique too.
See, the only thing with that, there's actually some of the Swedish team, they'll do that at like after parties for the event. Mm-hmm. And they can get it down quick, but there's so much foam left over at the end that in a race, it gets so fast, but you're going to have so much foam left over, which is ultimately going to get you DQ'd.
I was just thinking about this. I went to the University of Windsor too. I took engineering there. I'm thinking our alma mater here, we could go and maybe do some sort of research project to figure out what is the fastest way to drink the beer. I think I remember it's kind of like pouring out ketchup. There's a slip angle that you'd want to hold it at so the fluid dynamics comes out. There could be some, maybe if anybody from University of Windsor is looking for a research project, this could be a good one to pull another couple seconds off Corey's time here.
Contact us on our socials and we'll honestly, provide a couple of beers for it.
There's a few guys from London when the beer mile first started getting going that were doing like tons of their own kind of testing for like how fast like they get the beer to come out, what the optimal angles were, if it was better to like close your lips in the bottle or leave a little bit of like airflow through. They would like do things like eat as much watermelon the night before a race and stretch out their stomachs as much as they could. So there was a lot of stuff they did that I've never even tried or thought about doing. I more or less like get to race day, pray to the stomach gods that my stomach's gonna cooperate, and that's as far as my like specific training goes for that.
Yes, those stomach gods, they can wreak havoc if they are not smiling upon us that day.
That's right. That's right.
So do you have just like a granola bar in the morning then? You're just like something nice and easy, or do you do full blown like eggs and bacon, anything like
I'll
that?
treat it like a workout day. So I'll still get like my full meals in. Make sure I definitely have stuff in my stomach, but then as I lead up to the race, I'll make sure my last meal is like 3 hours previous.
Okay.
So nothing's like right up in my stomach. It's sort of everything's been settled in.
Now, what do you think is the Bellemore secret? What is the key other than being amazingly fast? Like 3:39, 1500, 3:57, 1 mile. Like these are like super fast times. You mentioned it was coming together of two things, enjoying some beer, being a super fast runner. You found the magical combination. But what do you think is the secret?
I think ultimately it's probably having a strong stomach, and regardless of how it feels, I'm still able to run pretty much my mile personal best time. Like, I think when I thought about it more and more, I think probably I attribute that more to like track club in grade 7 when I first joined. My parents had to get dinner on the table before track practice, and it was like sometimes I'm eating a ton of pasta, sometimes I'm eating a steak before practice, and then I'm going to the university and like ripping a fast, hard workout. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it didn't always feel good, but I learned to sort of cope with that sloshing and uncomfortable feeling, maybe some cramps sometimes. But I think over time my stomach got really strong, and I mean, I could do a workout right after a big meal any day. So I think the biggest thing, probably the secret, maybe is having a strong stomach and not feeling the urge to puke like ever.
I think it's just amazing that you found your sport and the combination of two things that led to a world record. I'm thinking like the only thing I could come close with would be like cheese and dodgeball or something like that. I haven't yet found a place that has those types of tournaments yet, but I'll keep my search on for it. So so you have the beer mile coming up in August, and then are there any other kind of races that you're looking forward to this year, or anything else that you're participating in locally, nationally, internationally?
So actually, I did a half Ironman 2 weeks ago. My first triathlon like ever. So that went fairly well. I have 2 jobs right now, so balancing everything in between was and we just moved into our place a year ago, so still learning to become a homeowner, which is fun. But
Nice.
I want to do another triathlon. To be honest, I want to give it more of a go. Is more or less to get my feet wet. So plan for something like that. And then I did last week. Actually, I was at the Ottawa Marathon. I paced 27 kilometers of the marathon for the 218 group. So I went through half and 109 for the group, and then went till 27K. And then they were on their own. But right now, sort of my like down week, and then I'll more or less next week get back into training slowly and put something on the calendar for later in the summer. But as far as it goes, I'm not 100% sure on a timeline of things right now.
Now, you mentioned you did the half Ironman. I saw you on social media. You came in third, right? Your first one. So
Yes.
what was your event? I'm going to say you probably outkicked everybody in the run. How was your swimming?
I think I was, the swim was good. I swam in high school for 4 years, so that was, I feel pretty comfortable in the water. I've done a decent amount of open water swims as well. And then the bike was something I definitely need to spend more time doing. A couple hours a week and loosely doing it is definitely not enough for a 90K hard effort. And then the run, I think I was in just around 30th place going into the run, and then thankfully I was able to run through a bit of the crowd there.
Catch 25 or 27 people in front of you. That's good reeling people in during the run. I love it.
Yeah, it was busy. It was on a small path too, so it's a 2-loop course too. So you don't know who's on lap 1, who's on lap 2. It's just you're just kind of running and going for it. So yeah, the run was where I was like, okay, finally I'm off the bike. I'm in a place I know very well. But actually I didn't know it very well because definitely had some bike legs going into it. So that was a unique feeling.
At any point during that race, are you thinking, if there was a beer element to this, that would wipe out the rest of these people and I would just be always the clear winner?
Yes and no. There's actually a few people in the crowd to remind me that there's beer at the finish line. So I think that helped me, if anything.
Yeah. That's the carrot that they dangle.
And then you mentioned you were at the Ottawa Tamarack Marathon last weekend.
Yeah.
And you paced the 218 marathon group. So you ran in 109. How'd that 109 feel for you?
Well, we actually, I was there for work. So I work for Race Roster, which does the registration for the event. So we did the on-site check-in, transfers, new registrations. So we worked 15 hours on the Friday, 12 hours on the Saturday. Honestly, didn't have time to run those 2 days, and then jumped into the marathon after being on my feet those 2 days. So it didn't feel great, especially a week after a half Ironman. But once I got going, once I was probably about 5K in, it felt a lot more comfortable, and it was awesome. Like just being on the streets in Ottawa, you're still in a race atmosphere, but there's no real pressure other than making sure you're on pace and helping the guys behind you.
And that's a super fast time. So 109 and a half, like that's really good. Are you gearing up? Do you want to kind of set your personal best in the half marathon? Is the marathon in your future?
Marathon eventually. That was my first. So the half Ironman that was actually my first half marathon ever. But it was after.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, that was unique. And then the Ottawa one, the 109, that was my first. I've done half marathons and training and stuff like that, but never in like a race setting. And then actually I signed up for Detroit in October. So I'll be doing the Detroit half marathon this year. And really looking forward to just, again, I want to gun it. I want to get a fast time. I want to win it, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
He wants to win it. Do you know what the course record is for the Detroit half?
I do not know. I'm going to guess like 64, maybe 63.
64. I was sticking in there. Is that in the legs? Do you think you got that in you? Maybe not the first one, or maybe the second one. Do you see setting the course record on our home course?
Yeah,
kinda?
I mean, we'll see. I think my goal time is, and if I blast it to the park, I'll be pumped. But my goal time is to go sub 65. So
sub 65,
64, somewhere in there would be awesome for a first one.
Well, the secret is for all the Canadians, we hang out at the Anchor Bar. So, you know what? You'll get there first and wait for us, and we'll show up later. You can celebrate.
Yeah, I've heard pretty much all the Windsors just congregate there, and it's one big party till it's early in the morning too. So it's like you're halfway through the afternoon, and then it's time to go home.
That's right. That's
nice.
Right. I've done it. I've done the half twice. It's been fantastic. I did the marathon 2 times, and it took my soul both times. So one day I'm going to go out for redemption. I got to go find my pride. I think I left it on Belle Isle, so I'll find it one day.
Hey, they don't do that part of the course anymore, though.
Well, then I'm all set. I don't have to worry about it. I'll still go run Belle Isle. I got to get my pride back.
That's right.
A lot of walking. Too much walking.
What I've always heard too about I think that's one of the great things about the Detroit Marathon is that you actually get to go over the bridge and then through the tunnel, or vice versa, right? So it's really a unique kind of experience when it comes to a marathon, right? I don't know any other ones that actually do something of that.
No, and it actually used to, weirdly enough, it used to start in Windsor and end over there. But now it's a two-way, crossing, like you said, over the bridge back through the tunnel, which is, I think they got to market that better, because that's a pretty cool drawing point for like a pretty big marathon. So I think if they can keep building it up, this year is actually the first year they're introducing an elite field. So for men's and women's marathon and half marathon, they're going to have an elite field. So hopefully that brings out some better competition. And I think a couple of years ago they added a 5K and then a road mile on the Saturday. So they have now they have an official marathon weekend, which is cool.
That's fantastic. That's great. Now talk to us about August 17th, the Beer Mile World Classic coming to Windsor. What can a runner expect during that day, and what can the spectators expect during that day?
I mean, it's just honestly just a fun event to not be a part of. It's a fun event for spectators, to be honest. It's something you've never seen before. If you have a sensitive stomach, don't worry, you'll still have a good time. You can turn your head away from anyone that's puking. If you're sick and you like to see that sort of stuff, you might see a few of those. But ultimately, it's a lot of great athletes that don't take themselves too seriously and happen to be amazing chuggers, which is a very unique skill to have, I guess. And then they have strong stomachs where they can chug very fast, run very fast in between, and it's just entertaining. Lots of dynamics to the race. There's a lot of stopping and going. There's a lot of obviously puking that happens, and then the start of the race is the craziest. Like last year was 22 guys in line. Obviously, my shoe got taken off within the first 30 meters of the race, just because there's so many guys getting after it. Most guys can chug pretty much the same rate, so you can imagine 20 plus guys drinking the same rate and then gunning for that corner of the first lap. It's pretty mad to see, and you'll see people of all abilities. So men, women, they have they did last year a Clydesdale division. So it's going to be interesting.
And what's the criteria for the Clydesdale? Because I got a feeling I'm in that division. Might be Corey.
Last year I think they did it at a certain weight. This year we haven't defined a Clydesdale division yet, but we might still add something like that in. But yeah, I think things are still coming together in terms of the planning of it. And then there will be some sort of after party event afterwards, which will be a great time for sure.
Now, when we registered, we noticed there's heats. That doesn't mean like if we win our heat, do we have to run another heat, or it's one time for us? Like, because I don't think I can pound 8 beers. 4 is going to be.
Yeah.
No. Come on, Todd. You can handle it.
You never know.
You just have to start eating that watermelon to expand your stomach.
That's right.
I wrote that down.
No, there'll just be one heat for you guys. But there's gonna be multiple heats, so maybe people that think they can go 6 minutes, people that think they can go 7 minutes, whatever it is, we'll have defined times for those heats.
And I remember you saying, well, earlier you just said that there's something for all people there, spectators and whatnot. Todd, you mentioned that Jennifer has front row seats, and is it the splash zone or the puke zone? What is it?
Chug zone.
The chug zone, yeah.
The chug zone, that's it.
We're a few of us signed up. So Harvey, our friend Harvey Steinoff, he signed up, and his wife and my wife, they're going to be in the chug zone, cheering us on. They want the full.
Just had a conversation with the owner of Flying Monkeys, Peter, who they're getting together the VIP section together. So sounds like it's going to be a cool lounge, and I think people be pretty interested to have a first row seat of especially that chug zone. Like you said, Runkle, it could turn into a splash zone very quickly.
I'm just thinking SeaWorld, right? Like it's bring your poncho.
So Corey, maybe some coaching advice here is where we got Coach Corey. We're learning to run a mile. The fastest mile that I've ever ran, I did it back in 2020. It was a mistake. I did 6:11. That tells you everything you need to know about this guy. I'm a 6'1". I'm a Clydesdale. It feels like I'm a runner, and that's why I look up to you, because you're 6'3", 6'4". We don't look like the typical runners that you see out there, like 5'2", 110 pounds, and they're flying around. We're Clydesdales. How do we get faster at the mile? Like what could we do in the next 2 months so I can beat 6'11", pounding 4 beers? That's my goal.
Get that fitness ready. So I think 3 key things you could do are get some hill reps in. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. So literally do some sort of warm up. Go to Malden or your closest hill and hit it. I don't know how long it is, but at Malden, if you did the longer hill, try and get up to 8 reps. So you're going to go hard up, not like where you're absolutely sprinting, but you're going to be probably, upper aerobic. So zone 4, maybe tipping on zone 5 heart rate. And then you'll jog down nice and easy. And you'll do that like repetitively up to 8 times. So maybe the first one you probably won't do 8. I probably wouldn't start there, but by the time the race is coming up, maybe a couple weeks out, you should have gotten up to 8. Make sure you have a long run a week, so that'll get your aerobic system tuned up pretty good. And aside from that, I'd say get on the track for a workout a week if you can, or every 10 days, and do some variation. So whether you're doing 400 repeats with 1-to-1 rest, or maybe you're doing something shorter, maybe some 200s with 90 seconds rest, something that's going to get your legs turning over and ready for how fast you're going to be on race day.
I've not ran fast. So, Corey, just for some level setting here, I run like 5K a few times a week in the morning. I'm not typically training for any kind of races. I'm not trying to go fast at all. So this is where, as we're talking about racing, I'm getting a little more concerned, being like, I'm thinking back to elementary school, running around the soccer poles, and that's probably the last time I ran fast. So
yeah, but honestly, as long as you can handle a mile of running, you're going to be fine for it. It's just if you want to be tuned and maybe in your best mile shape, I'd say you don't have to add all those workouts in, but maybe once a week or something, throw something like that in.
And I was never really that good at boat races either, so I'm not really bringing a lot to the table here. So,
well, Mark, you can practice drinking beer anytime. You don't have to go to the track for that. So you got that on the go.
I think it's pool season, right? So I can work on that. I'll tell Sarah that's exactly what I'm doing there.
I like what you said. It was very similar along the lines, but Jason Fitzgerald told us. Like, I'm signed up for the New York City Marathon. I've run it a couple other times. I run it. It's fun. I run it. I want to go and I want to race something. I want to race. I got to learn to race. So he said, you know what? Get faster at the shorter distances and you'll have a better marathon. Mm-hmm. And me, you probably, I see you on Strava and whatnot. And I'm always out doing the same thing. I'm running 5K, 10K, half marathon on the weekends. So I do like mixing up this idea and learning these track routines. In the past, I was worried. I thought I was going to get hurt all the time. And I was hurt. But now that you get built to fitness, track workouts. So
yeah, I mean, just hopping in the track, I think you can key off a lot more variables because you're just dealing with nice surface, nice fast surface. You can be a lot more rhythmic. The only thing that's going to affect you really is every track you go to is pretty much the same. It's all 400 meters. Maybe the surfaces change a bit, but for the most part, you can get the same sort of stimuli in regardless of the track you're at. The only thing that's going to change is the environment, but that's out of your control. So I think track's a really good place to control your environment and focus on. If you're trying to hit certain pace times, really trying to see how you feel, really trying to focus on form, I think that's a great place to go to do that.
The form. Now here's a couple other questions that have been building in my brain. When you're at the beer mile, I see you in this amazing track uniform. Where can Runkle and Mark and I get the track uniform? We want to look the part. And do we need track spikes? That's the two questions that we're trying to figure out here.
You don't need track spikes. I mean, they might help. It definitely helps with traction. And just overall, how much power you're putting to the ground and how much you're pulling backward, you're just going to get more force out of it. So I would say it's not necessarily, but if you have them at your disposal, not a bad thing to have.
I think. No,
listen, Corey, it's not going to help me. I can have whatever shoes on. I could go shoeless, and it's not going to change anything.
And then the speed suit, I've been with Adidas since 2016, so they always send me the new kit of speed suits. So that's been my plug for that.
Okay, the Adidas speed suit. We'll be looking for that. We'll go on the Adidas website, see if we can find something simple. If not, then we're gonna have to go with the short shorts, I'm thinking.
Yeah, what's illegal for this race? I just asking for a friend.
Oh, you can wear the highest of short shorts, the ones with the highest split.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you can run whatever you're comfortable in. You can run a Speedo if you want.
A Speedo, okay.
Noted.
Can we go shirtless? Because my cousin was always like, Marentettes have to run shirtless, so I'm figuring I may go shirtless.
Oh, you're good. You're good to go there. Absolutely.
Yes.
And they've been doing that for centuries, right there, Todd? Whenever a Marentette runs, it's just shirtless.
Winter, yes, we have been. Yes, summer. In Windsor, absolutely. Yeah.
You guys coined that, I think.
We probably did. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, Corey, we watched your videos and saw some of your recap. Leaving university, Mark touched on this and starting to work, but you're still a pro runner, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What is still left to accomplish in your pro running? What is your your dream and your aspiration that you're gunning towards? I know life changes and priorities change, but what's one thing that's still unfinished business for you?
There's a lot of new challenges, a lot of new events that I haven't tried, a lot of new distances. So for me, like growing up, I was pretty singular minded, and like the only value I would get from athletics is defining myself as an Olympian. And honestly, that could be unfulfilling. So 2016, I was 1.6 seconds away from the Olympics in the 800, was fourth place at trials. It was the only thing that mattered. And I think that can take the fun out of athletics, out of exercise, out of pursuing something like bigger than just competing. So honestly, right now, it's just, I love training. I love the process of training. I love trying new things. And that's sort of why this year was like, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon. I'm going to do that. I'm going to sign up for a half Ironman. I'm going to do that. And yeah, priorities definitely change, but I think I've learned to have a healthy balance while still also being competitive and like being able to be still an elite athlete.
Could I also add that maybe something you can look towards trying to do would be working with Flying Monkey to have the Corey beer, whether it's the Beermore or the Beermore Puff, whatever you want to call it, but it has a picture of you with lasers coming out of your eyes on the can.
I think you guys need to vouch for me there. It might sound a bit better, but I mean that'd be super cool. I work closely with them, and they're great people. Like if you ever have a chance to go down to the tap room there, it's probably the most unique tap room you will ever experience. There's something on every piece of every wall in that tap room and building, and they produce just in that little small space of it's under 3,000 square feet. They produce millions and millions and millions of beer like a year. So it's just a small facility, but just they mass produce, and it's incredible to see.
And are they based in Windsor?
Barrie, Ontario.
Barrie, okay.
Barrie, Ontario. Okay.
I recognize the name. I think they did something at some point with City and Color or just musicians and that, just different types of unique beers or releases. And I hope I'm accurate with that, but I've definitely heard about them before, so that's pretty neat.
They're very, very eccentric. Like this is their logo here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Beerologist.
Yeah,
Love it.
Well, Corey, you touched on something that I'd like to go back to because this is super important. And maybe this is the crossroads that athletes have to find at some point in their career is if you base everything off of the end result, you'll never be satisfied because you're always going to want to be a bit faster, to do the next thing, whatever that thing is. And we had some great guests on, like Alex Hutchinson, you know, the research that he does on sweat science. And he talks about like, you know, what research shows the best in the world, the attitude they have. And you're right, to love the process, love the work every day. And honestly, as you start to go up in these longer endurance events, this is the natural trajectory of the greatest folks in the world. They started on the track, they were fast on the track, then they moved to longer distances, and then they run fast times into their 40s, into their late 40s. It's amazing. So we're going to be looking forward to this the trajectory for our friend Corey Beermore.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like the last number of years since I started like competitively running, you build an engine and you keep building it and keep refining it. And I think it's so finely tuned at a young age when you're doing more speed stuff that you can really develop off that. So yeah, my trajectory is definitely into a bit longer stuff. And just going back to the point, like if you just don't focus on the process and think about that end goal all the time, you'll never truly be happy. There's also things you got to take care of in life. Like you obviously want to progress it in your career, your relationships, just life in general. So I know balance, a lot of people like turn their head around. But I think there's something to be said about having a balance of everything you like in life. Everything sort of gets better from focusing on a little bit of everything.
Now, I got a quick question too about just being a world champion or a world record holder on the beer mile side of things, I mean, there's running out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are purists when it comes to that. Have there been instances of naysayers towards your accomplishments? Because as a podcast, we thought, we're here doing a good thing, trying to promote, camaraderie and just the joy of running. And we've had a reoccurring individual that messages us from time to time indicating that we're maybe not at the top of our game yet. I mean, we're only 13 episodes in. This is a shout out to Tic Tac Tito. Is that what it was?
Tito.
Yeah, 422.
He's back.
But, he's said some things over the years, but we're trying to let it roll off over the years. We've only been doing this for 13 episodes, so over the last several months. But when it comes to, somebody voicing their non-support for you, how do you let it impact you? Do you just let it roll off your back? How do you deal with that?
I think I used to let that stuff bug me a little more. But I know who I am. I know what I represent. The people that know me know what I represent. So it's like, I don't really care about someone that doesn't know me. If they want to get to know me, then we'll have a conversation. But at the end of the day, it's like I have a support system that are close to me, that mean the world to me, and nothing else really matters. I'm pretty secure about who I am, and I'm just having fun, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think my therapist is trying to get me to that level too as well, knowing that Tito has had such an impact on me personally, but it's okay. I will get there, and I aspire to have your outlook there, Corey.
Hey, Tito can come to me. If he wants to direct his comments at me, I'll take him over
be
you
careful,
guys.
Corey. He might send us a note. He's usually really gracious to the guest. He loves the guest.
Oh, yeah, he loves the guest.
He's hard on Ronkel and myself, usually for my slurping beer. But that's
and
okay,
my
Tito.
lack of owning other shirts
fun.
other than plaid.
Oh my goodness.
You're a fast miler. You're a fast 1500, like super fast, professional. So when you show up to the beer mile and you're the world champion, you're the world record holder, do the professional runners kind of look down at you saying, well, come on, this isn't real? Or are they giving you the kudos because
props?
They know that you're running
royalty
357 and drinking 4 beers at the same time? Like what's that like?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. Some people are... The thing about runners is, especially at elite level, there's a lot of egos at hand. So a lot of runners are very focused on their own running, their own circuit they're participating in, and any other noise that might interfere with that, they don't like, they hate it. So I think when the beer mouse first blew up and it started like getting out in the media more and overshadowing some maybe other performances, even there was a few Olympians that were losing sponsorships and couldn't get them, and that's when I had partnered with Adidas, so got some slack for that. So it's a bit of both, to be honest, but at the end of the day, it's like it's such a niche thing, like the beer mile. It's such an interesting, weird... The average person can sort of, they know a mile time, but also they know how hard it might be to chug 4 beers. That it's something very, very, very different. So that I think that's why they're sort of, the video shares are crazy. The news that they put out, it gets a lot of attention. Like it's been in TMZ, it's been all over Sports Illustrated. So I think it's just the general interest, whether they want to take that seriously and actually be mad about it. I think that's on them, but they have to understand why people are gravitated towards it.
So it speaks to more to them. Go ahead, Ronkel. You were going to say something there.
I was just going to say, with holding that title, though, were you given like a championship belt or like a golden pint glass or like what reckon? Oh, it's a trophy.
Oh. Are you going to bring that to Windsor and drink out of it when you win when you set the world record?
Well, you have a chain that you put it around your neck with.
Right? There won't be that one, but there will be another one. Also, they should definitely do some sort... I grew up watching, and I would hide from my parents when I was super little. I would watch... It was WWF at the time, but now it's WWE.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the iconic belt that's also now in UFC. That's something I, grew up watching and seeing guys just, like Rey Mysterio.
You got the belt.
You need one.
So, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I think the beer mile is pretty fitting for something like that.
Definitely.
It is. Definitely. Trail runners have the buckle. Why can't beer miles have the belt? I like this idea. We might have to put this on the list too and see if we can't
bottle opener built into it, maybe.
Oof. that might be a good thing to add to like 2 months out from this year's event, just over 2 months out. So it might be time to talk to the other organizing staff and implement something like that.
All right. Well, we've got ideas, so we'll help.
We got a lot of ideas, and this is gonna be so much fun. You know what? Like, can there be more Canadian than a super fast Canadian who can pound beers and run a mile and owns the world record of the beer mile? Like, this was meant to be. So, is there added pressure, Corey? How excited are you for the beer mile in Windsor this August?
Yeah, I mean, added pressure a little bit for sure, but ultimately, I just want everyone to have a great time. I want people to come out, be in the stands. There's going to be long games. There's going to be a 50-50 raffle. There's going to be people in crazy costumes. It'll be action filled and definitely something not the average person has seen. So to see it live in your back doorstep, there's 14 other countries coming in. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting. And the pressure, I think, adds to the fun of it.
That's awesome, man.
Rise to the occasion, right? You got to rise to the occasion.
Todd, you mentioned it's very Canadian, but Corey, what is your time in eating a poutine? What have you clocked there? Is that not yet?
I talk a lot when I'm eating, so it's probably pretty slow.
All good. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I don't know, Todd, do you have any other questions before we? Yeah.
Well, maybe just a couple things. One thing that Runkle started a few episodes ago was the shoes on the other foot. So put in a question over to you. Do you have any questions for non-elite, middle-aged, mid-packers like Mark and myself?
Yeah. I always like to know people's why. So like I have 2 whys to ask you. Why did you get into running and why did you get into podcasting?
Oh, wow. Really good questions. Todd, do you want to go first?
Really good. Well, you can go, Mark, there. Gives me more time to think of a better answer when I listen to you first and then not. I kid.
I think my why for getting into running is that Todd wore me down. So what you might not know is, I'm just kidding, but Todd and I, we've worked together for years, and I've had the opportunity to hear about all his adventures and running and his development and that, and just how much it's really brought him a lot of joy over the years and that too. And just so many neat trips he's taken to go for, I know he says runs instead of races and that, but he's traveled all over the world already too, which is pretty neat. So for me, I find running is a great stress reliever, just builds overall, health and wellness. And it's something that I feel that, when I have a spare 25 minutes in the morning before I start getting ready for work and before my kids wake up, it's something I can fit in rather than going to a gym. So that's really been how, I've got my toe in on running right now, and yet we have a podcast. So I think that's the noob aspect that I bring to the table. But, and then, with podcasting, we've had such a cool opportunity to meet people from all over the world now, and always have interesting stories, and they're so supportive for the most part, except for Tito. And it's just really neat to hear their stories and their reason for building running into their life. They make that room for it in their 24 hours a day, and it's something that's important, and you can see the benefit and the joy from what they're doing. So I guess that's kind of my perspective. Todd, over to you.
Well, it's probably a similar story that a lot of runners who find running. I was getting ready to turn 40. I was way overweight, just wasn't good physically, mentally. And my buddy Harvey Steinoff was constantly trying to get me to sign up for a race. And I kind of read about the benefits of running that it would have on your, emotional state, your physical state, your mental well-being. So I started. I signed up for, I think it was the Essex Jingle Ball Run. And I caught the bug right away. I totally enjoyed it. And I would say it evolved. Why evolved? Because at first it was all about the racing, the atmosphere, competing against Harvey. He was always kicking my butt. And, but as I went to more and more races and got to the big events and met more and more people, it's just to be part of a group who show up to toe the line on a race. It's like the old cliche. It's the only event where you're at the same race with the pros at the front, the elites at the front. but you're all doing the same thing. You're all battling to get to the finish line, and to be part of that, and just that spirit, it's been amazing. So it transformed me physically and mentally. So I love that. And I would say for the podcast, just like Mark was saying, we worked together for such a long time, and we always joke and we talk all the time. So we always would joke, we should start a podcast. We should start a podcast. And then finally, my one good buddy, Floris Yearman, he's like, you should start a podcast. And last December, we did. We had Casey Thiverjohn as our first guest when he wrote his book and released it. And you get a chance to like meet so many great guests, and everybody you reach out to, like, hey, would you like to come on a podcast? They say yes. Now, if you would ask them to like talk to you in real life, they probably say no. But once you say a podcast, everybody says yes. So it's fun. And I got a book here. I wrote down so much stuff that we've got over 13 episodes, and we just want to share that with everybody who's listening, because these are nuggets that Mark and I have learned that we're taking away from great guests. But it's really just to have fun and be part of the running community. Do something tough. That's maybe the long way of saying it.
I think to sum that up there, Todd, is that we've tricked people into talking to us. This isn't even a real microphone. So
hey, you got me. That's awesome. No, I appreciate both those answers, and I just want to say thank you. You guys are great people, and I hope we can all maybe get out for a run one of these days soon. Maybe I'll have to go to your neck of the woods, and because you're up by Wheatley, right?
Yeah. I live just right in front of the Wheatley Provincial Park.
It's gonna be a great time. I'm excited. It's gonna be super busy. We actually have a wedding in New Brunswick. We fly back the day before the beer mall, and the beer mall's the next afternoon. So it's gonna be like England all over again. But it seemed to go well, so let's make it happen again.
Maybe that's the secret, though, Corey, is not to overtrain for this. You got to give that yourself a day of rest, stressful travel, and then you just hammer it on race day.
Yeah, get jet lagged again.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, so it was in London, England the first time I ever did it, and then in 2019 I went to Manchester, and I tried to simulate that 50-hour trip again. Yeah, I set the world record.
That's the secret.
Manchester again. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something to that.
Awesome. So
is the world record in your legs for this summer? Like, do you feel that you could set the world record again?
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. I love
it. Right. Damn right again.
That's why we got to be there to support. So like, I know Windsor, Chatham, Southern Ontario, we got a lot of listeners. We got a lot of listeners in the States. And it's funny because you can kind of see the stats. We got listeners all over the world, but this is our hometown guy. He's a good guy. He's in the community. We're going to cheer you on, Corey. And, Mark and I we'll warm that track up for you. We'll make sure that track is fast.
It's going to be so hot.
If you need a pacer, we can break the wind. Whatever you need, we're there. We'll give it a shot. We'll break wind.
Except for the breaking wind part.
Just no puke on the track.
No puke. But you said about burping. So this is the one thing I was talking to Mark about this right before we started recording is I'm a natural burper. Like if I go for my run right after this, I'm going to be burping naturally. So you kept talking about you got to be ready to burp. I can't wait to hear these burps that are going to come out of me. I'm excited for that.
Continuous.
So TSN actually came to Vancouver when the World Championships were there the one year. And they did, if you look on YouTube, it's called Beast of the Beer Mall. And they mic'd me up for the race, and you can hear me burping throughout. So if you want to hear some burping, you can go watch that video.
That's great. And I'll put on surround sound.
It's just the burp is going the wrong way. Like if you could get the burp like funneled backwards, a little bit of jet thrust. Maybe we'll have to risk that too. You can get a breathing apparatus in.
I wouldn't trust those burps.
No, exactly.
The World Beer Mile Classic on the race roster. Are you almost full, or how is registration?
It's pretty open right now. The VIP is starting to come down a bit, but there's still a decent amount of numbers. We're not actually going to cap it because the University Stadium, although it only has a certain amount of seats, there's the berm all the way around it. So the more the merrier, to be honest.
This is a special event. And there's not too many, I don't know how many world record holders we have in Windsor, Ontario. Probably not that many. So this is like I know it's a niche event, but this is still like world class.
This was a question I was going to fill in or ask earlier. I know we're kind of after it now, but so Are you in the Guinness Book of World Record for the beer mile? That would be ideal, right? Because it's the Guinness book, and then your
So
title is in
you
there.
actually, I think they had looked into it a couple years back, and I think you have to pay for someone. You have to pay for it, pay for a crew to be there. So you have to pay for the whole Guinness crew or a couple of crew members to be there, and then they ratify it, whatever. But essentially, anyone can be a world record holder for something. For Guinness, it's just you pay for it. Like that's why they exist. So
sounds like a GoFundMe project that we could work on.
Yeah. So I mean,
Corey.
That's nothing. I mean, if the organizers wanted to make it a Guinness thing, then that's fine. But yeah, I'm just happy doing it and happy competing and to hold some sort of record.
Yeah, soon to be a wrestling.
Now you
belt.
said you're Adidas sponsored. So in your half marathon, did you wear those fancy Adidas throwaway running shoes?
So I actually wore the Takumi Sens, which they're not the fanciest of fancy, but I actually like the carbon shoes. Honestly, like I know a lot of people love them and whatnot. I'm pretty old school. Like I like something that I can feel the ground a little bit, has some pop to it, but isn't completely trying to throw my foot forward. Yeah, I like trying to garnish my own power, and I think that's just probably years of being on the track and minimal spikes, and like your body gets beat up and you're used to producing your own power instead of a shoe sort of doing that for you.
I think that's the downside. Everyone is in those super shoes nowadays, right? And I see people getting hurt more than they have ever gotten hurt. There's like a telltale kind of curve where I run, I get the super shoe, I run, I get hurt. And I try to, I use the ultra super shoes, but the flat platform, I'm with you. I like being close to the ground. When I'm high up, I'm wobbly like there's no tomorrow. So close to the ground, and then being able to, run a fast time in flats or like minimal shoe. That's another flex. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you do get like a little bit of lower leg work and especially like your ankles, some of the smaller muscles in your feet. I think you get those worked a little bit more from something more minimal. So then if you were to use that most of the time for workouts and then even transition to a carbon shoe for racing, I think that's a better way to go than some people only using carbon, because it does manipulate the way your foot's landing, taking off. It's not necessarily as natural.
It is one shoe, the Adidas shoe I want to try on. I try on the Nike super shoes, and every time I've put them on, you can just, when you put the shoe on, you're going to get hurt. You could just tell, like the way it kind of like positions you. And it's like, I always look at them. Sometimes I go to the Nike outlet. I'm like, I found a pair. I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't do it just yet. But and I'm not that fast to begin with. So the shoes aren't my limiter, Corey.
It will make you faster, to be honest. It makes the perceived effort of going you're fast a little bit easier.
Okay, well, maybe I'll show up with a super shoe and then the same kind of outfit.
We're going track spikes, Mark. We're going to go track spikes.
Like, just keep on thinking about the outfits that they wore in the movie Dodgeball. The Cobras where they like walked in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's awesome.
We got to have matching outfits, Todd. We got to do this.
Oh, we will.
Awesome.
Uncle Mark, we will. Corey,
thank you so much.
Really
Corey.
Appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks for the extra ratings on it.
And I got to say, this is probably, for our diehard fans, this is the first time you're seeing Todd in something other than a Path Project shirt. And it's a Band of Runners shirt. Liza Howard sent it our way. Liza, thank you for this shirt. And you know what? She even wrote a nice note for us. And she said, these shirts are guaranteed to help you through any race or long training run. Liza, thank you. She knows me. She knows I need the help.
I'm just hoping it just gives me legs, gives me speed, gives me endurance, gives me style.
And check out bandofrunners.org. It's a great organization. They organize a trail running camp for first responders, military veterans, their families, free of charge. They could use your support. Check them out, bandofrunners.org. And thank you to Liza and her friends.